Hi everyone and welcome to a brand new series called Everything About. In this series, I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about each champion in the game. We'll go through the champions in alphabetical order from A to Z, and in every episode, we'll focus on a different champion. The goal of this series is not only to expand your overall knowledge of the game, but also to give you all the information you need to properly analyze matchups, understand champions' strengths and weaknesses, and make better decisions during the game. And in the long term, I want this series to build a solid foundation for your drafting ability. So, whenever you're looking to improve your gameplay, understand matchups better, or simply learn more about the champions, I hope you'll find this series useful. With that said, let's start with the first champion on our list, Aatrox.
Let them lament my name.
So, Aatrox is a melee juggernaut fighter, AD bruiser who plays on top lane and jungle. He was and is also being played on mid lane and sometimes on support. His kit revolves around dealing a lot of physical damage and burst and controlling space near him, but also sustaining for fights with his healing. Aatrox is a champion who can be extremely threatening when he gets to dictate the pace of a fight. However, a lot of his power comes from properly landing his abilities, especially his Q. Uh, Overall, his entire kit is extremely coherent. Every ability is connected to each other, but the core of it is the Q ability, and that's why Aatrox is super complex and hard to play. You have to use your abilities with control, connect your Q with E, W with Q, E with W, because Aatrox isn't simply about pressing Q 3 times. You need to understand where the enemy is going, and use your all abilities to make your Qs easier to land. His passive is also very well suited in his kit, so like overall remember to put some orders between the queues and use your passive as much as possible. Remember that your A is also a defensive ability, and in some matchups is crucial for his survivability. You can dodge some spells with it, but of course the main purpose of this ability is to hit your Qs better and to use it with that. Ult Aatrox is a combat ability and it is super powerful, so use it wisely, especially think about future fights and objectives, because maybe it's better to save that for later and not use it on your lane or your 1v1 or to like maybe catch a kill, because without it your champion isn't as good. It's the same thing with Renekton. Aatrox's healing is one of the defining characteristics of the champion, but it's important to remember that his healing is closely connected to him actually dealing damage. If Aatrox can't reach his target or constantly land his abilities, a large part of his survivability disappears. So overall, you play as and versus Aatrox around his Q cooldown and Q range. In lane, Aatrox wants to use his Q range to poke, control space, and punish enemies who walk into his Q range. In jungle, he can look for early ganks without his ult, and after he gets to level 6, he wants to look for fights with many people, so he can look for objectives, invades, and overall forcing a bit with his ult. Uh, Main thing for him is to get levels into his queue. So on level 9 his game really starts. Then every time he gets level up on his ult, he's getting much stronger. So be careful or look for level 11 and level 16 spikes. Uh, because the E hitting got changed, so he doesn't scale with the level upping E anymore. And level upping his Q is so important because it reduces the cooldown and boosts the flood damage on him. So he scales with items very well. He's looking for 3-4 items to spike really hard, and at the same time time it with level 16 ult level up. Uh, Aatrox can be a lane bully in some matchups, but he's not the greatest in that. Overall, this champion has a bit of everything. Decent laning phase with ability to punish and poke enemies, good all lanes, good side lane, good team fight, good scaling, but he is not the best in any of it. And of course, in some comps, he might become extremely strong or extremely weak, for example, in teamfighting. But he's not good, like best in anything. So Aatrox is good into comps without burst damage, without CCs and PO, and as well he wants to play into melee comps, so he's able to blend his abilities and then like be in range and constantly deal damage. Like if you think about this, he wants to be healed. He wants to deal damage, so he's able to heal. When you think about the things that are good against him, then it's gonna be the CC, it's gonna be the burst. He has a good lane against a lot of bruisers and tanks like Sion, Yorick, Set, Ornn, Nasus, or even sometimes Ambessa. Uh, he has a lot of skill matchups, and overall the champion is very skill based. You can't just put anyone on this champion and expect him to perform well against a lot of comps or a lot of matchups. Uh, However, Aatrox is having hard time against champions who can constantly avoid his Q, so are also out of his range, deny his ability to access targets. So when there is some pill, punish him before he gets going. So also sometimes poke or the burst damage. So he's not really able to stack the conqueror, get the healing, get so much damage. But also he is weak against champions with extremely powerful all-ins or that are too tanky for him. So, for example, champions with range advantage. So, Anivia, Varus, Gnar, ADCs, mages, also enchanters with NSCC, champions with better all-ins, and those who can dodge his Qs. So, Irelia, Fiora, Olaf, Renekton, Tryndamere, champions with bursts, Garen, Udyr, Urgot, sometimes assassins, some mages, ADCs with burst, uh, too tanky for Aatrox, uh, Malphite Cassandra when he's not able to get through the armors, through the health. And as well, he's very weak against champions with a lot of CC. Maybe not as a laner, but as a team comp wise. So a lot of supports like Leona, Nautilus, some mages with stuns, Ari, Syndra, some junglers as well like Sejuani. So in teamfights, Aatrox wants to find opportunities to enter the fight, deal damage, heal, and stay alive long enough to get a takedown, so he gets a reset and ult. He's particularly strong when enemies are forced to fight him in close range and when he has enough space to repeatedly use his Q. What is very important when playing against Aatrox is the anti-heal, especially the one that you apply, because otherwise Aatrox will spot who has the Rumble West and he will not auto-attack him. Always try to chain CC him and kill him in one instance. On lane, look to do something on early game. If you need take ignite as well, it can save you some troubles with him. It can save you some gold because you don't have to buy the anti-heal so quickly. If you can set up the wave for some ganks because he is quite vulnerable for them, or look for all-ins with everything you have if your champion is good enough to really kill him. If your champion doesn't stand a chance with Aatrox, then don't skill check him. He will easily punish you. And if you're a top laner, I recommend to experience playing against some good Aatrox because you will see how strong this champion can be. On Aatrox, there is no real creativity with maxing. You always go Q first, then E, then W. So now let's talk about runes. With different drafts and different matchups, you will take different runes, but the most common one for Aatrox is the Conqueror because he uses it very well. He uses the Adaptive Force and the Heal. With that, you take Triumph, Ability Haste, and Cut Down or Last Stand. You can combine it with Resolve if the matchup is hard. You can take either the Conditioning, Second Wind, or Bone Plating. And from the third row, you can also take Overgrowth or Revitalize or Unflinching. And you always go double adaptive force and either base health or scaling health. A different path is a domination one with electrocute when you want bigger burst. you go electrocute with sudden impact, you go something from here, for example, Sixth Sense, and either Treasure Hunter or Ultimate Hunter. You can combine it with Resolve again if you need survivability, or the Sorcery with Nimbus Cloak and Scorch if you have, for example, Ignite and you need to punish the lane much more. That's also a common rune path for mid lane Aatrox. Another path is the sorcery one. You can either go Comet if you need more poke on the lane, especially when you play against range matchups, or the Surge. Then you go Nimbus Cloak, you go Transcendence and Scorch, and again you can combine it with either Resolve, Inspiration, or if you really need to Precision, but most likely you will take that in a matchup that is bad, so you take it with Resolve. If you can't really stock the Conqueror and you are not winning all lanes on your lane, then a good path is also the Resolve one with Grasp of the Undying, with Demolish, something from this row, and something from this row, and you can combine it again with Inspiration, or maybe even with Precision if you need something like this, or this. For support Aatrox, you go Glacial Augment with Shoes, with Triple Tonic, or Cookies if needed, and Cosmic Insight. Then you go something from the secondary tree. If you need more survivability, you go Resolve. If you want to play with Ignite, more aggressive lane, maybe Nimbus Cloak and Scorch. From items, Aatrox loves survivability and healing. That's why Sunder is super good. Death Dance as well is making him so much stronger. The same goes with Sterak's. The tenacity is also huge. Black Cleaver, a lot of cooldown reduction, on the shotgun as well. He loves to have a lot of Qs. Guardian Angel for another instance of abilities, another instance of healing with this, with your passive. For some more aggressive and lethality builds, you can go Eclipse, Voltaic, Hubris. Um, those are also very solid items. This is mostly for supports, and some of of core items. You can go something more tanky. Those are also good options. The same goes with Omen. The same goes with Jackshaw. Malmotrus is not that good because then you can't build the Sterak that is so good for you. But of course, when you play against a lot of AP burst damage, then it can also be huge, especially with the Omnivamp that it gives. And Stridebreaker can be also useful, especially against some ranges or someone with a lot of movement speed. A lot of times, just build him like a typical bruiser because every bruiser AD, HP, some survivability, and Aatrox loves the cooldown reduction as well, and the healing. First important thing is the Q delay on Aatrox. The cooldown resets every time you click the Q. So if you go Q and you don't use the second Q, then the cooldown is going to be 4 seconds shorter because this is how much time you have to use the other Q. And the same goes with the second Q. After that, you have again 2 seconds cooldown. So if you don't need to use the second or third Q, just don't use it, and then the cooldown is going to be like this. Second important thing is the shape that the second Q has. It allows you to hit the enemies in a further distance if you place it correctly. As you can see, if I hit the dummy like this right now, I don't reach it. But if I hit this in a different angle, like this, I can hit this. Another important thing is the auto attack reset. You can do it on the enemy, you can do it on the turret, you can do it to get a wave. You just simply need to press auto, and after auto, immediately press E, and you have the another auto. You can also do this against the wall. Another cool thing is the EW interaction. If you do it correctly, then you can really shock the enemy. You can do this as an aggressive thing, and also as a defensive thing. So if you stand like this, or like this, or like this. But the best usage is with the minions, to be honest. You just press the attack champion only, and you do you can walk into the minions and do like this. Another thing is his E. You can use it to jump over the wall, and the range is not that small as you can see here. It's actually much higher. You can jump over a lot of walls, big walls. that wall. Of course, you can use flash with any of the Q to shock your enemies, but make sure to do it in the last bit of the animation. Another interesting thing is how his Q hitbox works. As you can see, this is the range of his sweet spot on Qs, and those are center range hitbox, and it means that the enemy champion will be hit whenever his center of the champion is within the range. The blue one stands for edge range hitbox, and it means that the champion will be hit whenever any of his champion's radius will be in that range. The best way to escape infernal chains is to walk to the side of it. Those are the best Aatrox players. From Pro, Gengen with his own skin for Aatrox, Kane, Zeus, 369, and from solo queue, Niall and Jackie Bebe. If you want to see best Aatrox gameplay, watch them. Last but not least, we've got the skin tier list. On the C tier, we've got those two skins that are terrible, don't play them. On the B tier, we've got the default Aatrox and some other skins that are not that bad. On the A tier, we've got some better skins like Blood Moon and the Prestige editions, but to be honest, two best skins are Primordial Aatrox and the Mecha Aatrox, and you should play them. And that's everything you need to know about Aatrox. If you found the video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Next up, we're moving on to Ari.